Hiya! Welcome! It's been about 3 or 4 months since I've done my last mini-disc collection update video, and I've got 9 mini-discs that I've added to my collection over that period of time to show you as quickly as possible today. There's 3 in particular that are particularly special. I'm going to save those till the end, and they're ones that I've bought very recently, like within the last couple of weeks anyway. But I'll start out with kind of the normal mini discs that I've added to the collection since late last year. And started out with this one that I probably can't pronounce properly. It is by Ricky Martin, as you can see, and the album is called Amedio Vivir or something. For those who haven't seen a mini-disc update video from me before, because of mini-discs being quite collectible and the prices of a lot of them shooting up quite rapidly, I do tend to get a lot of impulse purchases with mini-disc. If I can see one at a good price, even if it's an album that I don't really want, or an artist that I don't particularly like, I'll still try and get it. And I was able to get this from eBay, I think this was, for I think $9.99. I think this was in an auction, and I was the only bidder. I'll be honest, I've not listened to all this album yet, and I've had this one I think for nearly 4 months. It's another Ricky Martin album for the collection. Yes, every home should have at least 2, and now mine does, as I added his album Sound Loaded, which actually wasn't too bad, last year sometime. Not really a lot to say about it, especially as I've not listened to it all, even now. It was originally released in 1995, according to the copyright. It was a bargain MD, I can't really say anything else about it apart from that. However, this next one, I'm massively excited to show you because this is what I would call a grail. Something that I've been after for a long time. The price had always been pretty high, but I was able to find it still quite expensive, but at a price I was willing to pay. And I've mentioned it quite a lot in previous mini-disc videos when I've been talking about my ultimate wants on MD. And it is Kiss This by the Sex Pistols. I am delighted that I finally got this a few months ago. This was on Discogs Marketplace. The seller was in Holland, I think. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it. I think including postage it was around the £45 mark, which is a lot really. I don't like spending that much money on music generally. It's not the most expensive mini-disc I've ever bought. There is others in my collection where I've actually paid more than double that, believe it or not. That's when collecting MD kind of starts getting silly because you're just paying prices that they're not worth it whatsoever. But this was one I really wanted on mini-disc, and I think 40 something pound, not too bad. Sex Pistols Kiss This, it's basically a greatest hits album. It features all the tracks from Nevermind the Bollocks on it, and also some other bonus stuff like My Way, EMI, Silly Thing. The case for this, I knew it was kind of broken. These cases are easy enough to find replacements for. I've got a few broken cases. I just put it back together and I put it in my mini-disc rack. It looks perfectly fine. And the main thing is the mini-disc plays. So happy to finally have this in my collection. Believe it or not, this is my first Sex Pistols album of any description in my collection. And it's the one I wanted on MD. Marvellous. I think that one was out originally around 92, 93, by the way. Next one is kind of an impulse purchase. I'd seen this one a few times going quite cheap on eBay. I thought if I could get this for under £10, because I remember a couple of his singles, and I'm sure I'd enjoy the album, and I did get it, I think, for maybe £9 or £10 on eBay. It's Finlay Quaye, or Finlay Quaye, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name, and Maverick A Strike. For those who don't know him, Finlay Quaye is a Scottish musician. His music was kind of reggae with sort of a Britpop kind of slant to it. This was his debut album, I think. I think his second album is also out on mini-disc, so I might keep half an eye out for that, as I did quite enjoy this. Not my favourite album ever, but it was cheap, and I remembered a couple of singles off here, be them Sunday Shining, Even After All, It's Great When We're Together. I remember hearing those on the radio quite a lot, around 95, 96 when this album came out. Give you a quick look at the actual mini-disc itself, there's not really a lot to see. All these sort of official record label produced mini-discs are always the same. They have the nice big label on the front and printed information about the track listing and the copyright on the back. But that is Finlay Quaye, Maverick A Strike, nice. Here's one that was another impulse purchase, another cheap purchase. The majority of these are, I have to say. apart from really the Sex Pistols and the ones at the end, which I'm really excited to show you. But this one is Unbelievable Truth and Almost Here. This is from, I think this is around 97 or even 98 actually. Didn't really know anything about this band, apart from when I did my research I learned that the brother of the lead singer of this band, I think it is a guitarist in Radiohead. So this is an Oxford band, as Radiohead were. I don't think this band did an awful lot else after this. They may have released another album, possibly another 2. Didn't notice them when they first came out in the late 90s, but I just kept seeing this mini disc come around on eBay quite a lot, and it was cheap. I think this only cost me, what, £8-ish, and that was probably including postage as well. There again, it's got another case that really has led a hard life. Mini disc cases are basically like cassette cases in that, like, if they've been chucked around enough, they're just going to snap off. But as I said earlier, these are easy enough to find empty duplicates, and then you just take all the bump out and the artwork and set yourself some time to do some replacing. But that is a really nice album. I don't really like Radiohead, and I was expecting this band to be quite a lot like them. They're not. They're a little more uplifting, not quite as pretentious as Radiohead. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of Radiohead fans out there. I myself am not one of them. But this was a good album, this. Certainly, I would recommend anyone pick this up on any format for cheap. It's not going to change your life, I don't think, but Unbelievable Truth, Almost Here. Very nice. This one was a fairly recent purchase. I think this one was in the last month or 2. It is various artists' compilation album, Fire and Skill, The Songs of the Jam. I've liked the Jam for a lot of years, never owned any of their music, and I suppose technically I still don't, because this is an album of Jam songs, but by various artists. But the Jam is a band, I would like to get some of their music. Maybe I'll look for some of their old records at some point. And I really enjoyed this. There's some unusual artists on here. It's mainly kind of your typical 1990s Brit rock, Brit pop type people. There's Liam Gallagher on here, Steve Craddock from Ocean Colour Scene, Heavy Stereo, Reef. I know Jason Clow, Not Suitable for Mum's a big fan of Reef. Weirdly, Everything But the Girl are on. Garbage, the band led by Shirley Manson, they're on here, and Noel Gallagher's on, and track 2 is Start by the Beastie Boys. So yeah, it's quite an eclectic mix, but mainly there's kind of a very sort of British rock guitar band current running through, apart from a couple of obvious exceptions. A case not in excellent condition, but it's fine enough. At least it's not broken off at the hinges like some of the other ones have, but a little bit dinged up, especially on the back. But you display them like this and they look great displayed, and as long as you can listen to the thing as well, I think it's virtually impossible to damage these unless you really try, because it's a little disc but it's in a really hard plastic outer shell. It's a really cool minimal design on there. Unusually there's no copyright or track listings on the back, but it's still an official mini disc, I can tell just by the way it's made. This wasn't too much. I think this cost me, including postage, I think around £12, and it intrigued me. There's some covers on here, I think a bit ropey, but there's some that are really good. It's made me want to listen to the actual band The Jam more, rather than people covering them, so I guess that's a good thing really. There we are, various artists, Fire and Skill, The Songs of the Jam. This is the last normal mini disc that I've got to show you. The other ones aren't so normal, and I'll explain why in a second. But this, I think, was from 1999, and yes, it's Mariah on Fire. Mariah Carey with Rainbow. I'll be honest again, I've not listened to all this album yet. I've had this maybe coming up for 3 months, and still haven't finished listening to it. There again, it's a bit like Ricky Martin, where I kind of just see something going cheap and I get it without really paying attention to if I like the music or not. Anything on vinyl that I've been collecting, it's because I actually really want it. And same with CD over the years really. But with mini disc, I've been a lot less selective really. I've just gone for stuff that I really want, and even if I've had to pay a big price, stuff like the Sex Pistols and then other things in my collection. And then there's been stuff like this that if I've seen it and it's official and it's gone cheap, then I've got it. But from what I have listened to, this album ain't too bad. I mean, there's some dross on it, that bloody cover with Westlife, Against All Odds. But Heartbreaker, the single from this featuring Jay-Z, that's a good tune. I enjoyed that 20 odd years ago and still enjoy it today. So yeah, Mariah Carey, Rainbow is the last official original release mini disc. However, I'm really excited to show you these final 3. as these are new release mini discs. They've all come out 2019 from albums that have varied in release from 2015 to 2018, I would say. And this is one, I only received it yesterday, I listened to it last night. This was from Bandcamp, and yes, it's a lot different, a new mini disc. This is Reflections by Time Cop 1983. The best way to describe this album and Time Cop 1983 in general is think about the incidental music in Stranger Things, and if you enjoy that, you will enjoy this. It's that retro synth wave, future wave kind of deal that you can sort of hear in the background of a lot of scenes in Stranger Things, and it just evokes the 1980s instantly. This album could be the Stranger Things soundtrack when you put it on, it really could. So as you can see, this is a lot different to how mini discs were released sort of 20 odd years ago. They come in a much smaller case. I mean, this is obviously an independently produced mini disc, but look how brilliant they're designed now. Just that printing on the actual disc itself. There's a company, and if I can find the information on them, I will put it in the description. There's a company who do all this printing on mini disc and cassettes for all these little indie artists and indie labels, and I just think it looks awesome. And I like these diddy little cases as well. I mean, they're so much smaller than one of these and so much thinner as well. I like the old sort of fat box, as I would call it, MD case, as they fit nicely in a cassette rack, but I just like how small and futuristic almost. They look like something someone's brought back from a not too distant future, these. And that is a phenomenal album as well. Listened to it last night and it was wonderful stuff. Really enjoyed that. So I recommend, if you're into synthwave and stuff that sounds like it's from the 1980s but really it's from today, then get onto Bandcamp, go to Time Slave Recordings Bandcamp page, and you'll be able to stream Time Cop 1983 and a whole heap of other similar artists as well. This cost me, I think including postage, it was 15 plus £3.50 postage, so £18.50 or something like that. Amazing, and I just love how these mini discs are designed now that indie artists are using them as kind of an interesting release format. Speaking of which, Silver Image, Troubled Hearts. Same deal again, just some absolutely phenomenal high quality printing on this. It's just a normal mini disc that you would have bought from the shop back in the day. I think Sony are still producing mini discs in Japan, but you never know when they're going to stop, because technically it's a dead format, even though we've got a lot of these indie labels trying to bring it back. And even Mark Ronson released his recent album on mini disc, albeit in a very limited run of 30, so they make nice collector's pieces, these do. This is Enger Jensen's other project. It's kind of female vocal led. Her name's Christina something. I'm sorry, I can't remember her full name. I'll put it on screen. I like this one a bit more than Time Cop's album design wise, because they've actually bothered to put a track label on the back as well as having all the nice printing on the front. And with Enger Jensen, he's really keen on his sleeve notes as well. So there is a lot more to read in this, albeit very small text. But we've got lyrics and stuff as well. And that's a fantastic album. I've seen this played on Techmoan videos when he's been testing out Walkman and things like that. And surprisingly, I didn't actually get this album from EOX Studios website like I've got all my previous Enger Jensen albums, because they'd sold out. They haven't got this on minidisc anymore. We're waiting for him to press some more. But this one and the next one I'm going to show you, there was a guy in the Czech Republic on Discogs Marketplace who was selling this and the other album I'm going to show you on minidisc, brand new and sealed, for probably around the same price that I would have paid Enger Jensen himself had he had them in stock. So it's great. I've got Anders Enger Jensen music on vinyl cassette with Retro Grooves Volume 1, which I showed you in a video a few days ago, and now MiniDisc. And of course I'm going to finish off with Anders Enger Jensen as well, because I've now completed my Retro Grooves collection. I've got Retro Grooves Volume 1 on cassette, Retro Grooves Volume 3 on vinyl record, and here is Retro Grooves Volume 2 on MiniDisc. There again, an absolutely fantastic printing by the company that a lot of these indie labels and small unknown artists are using, as MiniDisc is just a really interesting sort of nostalgic but kind of not that far back format that a lot of people, certainly my age, will remember, and anyone kind of a lot younger than me will be discovering these thinking, oh, these look interesting. I kind of like the DIY look of it, where you can still see the Sony imprint in it, but it's still a really good print job. And there again, got a nice high quality label on the back of the disc as well. Even got printing on the sides, look. So they do a brilliant job, this company, and it's just really good for Anders and EOX Studios to be releasing this sort of stuff on MiniDisc as well as on record and tape. Some nice sleeve notes there. I would have preferred to have bought directly from Anders for these, but I just wanted a couple of his things on MiniDisc. I could have bought them on cassette instead, as these aren't out on vinyl yet either. I saw them at a good price on Discogs from a seller in the Czech Republic, and it was just a good way to quickly get my Anders Enger Jensen collection up to date, or as up to date as I can. So there we are. That was quite a long video, I think, but I hope you enjoyed looking at my latest MiniDisc purchases. Some old school 1990s MiniDiscs there, back when the format was being pushed a little bit by Sony, but it never really caught on in the face of compact disc, and even still people were buying quite a lot of cassettes at the time. And now MiniDisc is not making a comeback like vinyl has, or even cassette really. MiniDisc is so niche still. But to me it's a fun format, especially now I've got some of these little MiniDiscs with these really cute little cases and with a really good full colour, high quality printing on the actual MiniDiscs themselves. You know, that just makes MiniDisc collecting, it's opened it up into a new avenue for me really, where I'm now not only looking for actual major label artist albums from the 1990s and early noughties, but I'm now looking for current independent music from the likes of Time Cop 1983 and Anders Enger Jensen on MD. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers and all my patrons. I'm going to go now, and I'll probably put one of these MiniDiscs on out to listen to one of the albums that I've not finished yet. Trouble is, that'll mean having to sit down and listen to either Ricky Martin or Mariah Carey. You reap what you sow, James. But that's going to be it for me. Please will you join me next time for my next music collecting and MiniDisc collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!